Ash, good evening. Where are you calling from tonight, Ash?
Melbourne.
All right. Well, you can kiss the ground there too. It's a nice part of the world. Anyway, what do you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Look, just to follow on from your previous call, I'm actually on the same page. I think Australians have really lost their right, freedom of speech, freedom of where to spend your money. I'm relating more to the vaccine that's been approved in the UK and the US and Canada, as we all know. I'm just wondering, why is it going to take so long for us to roll it out in Australia? I've heard the Chief Medical Officer and I've heard Scott Morrison and Mr Hunt and everyone else come out and say, oh, look, we don't really need the vaccine at the moment. Let's just wait and see what happens. Now, 2 points on that. First of all, what happens, as we've seen in New Zealand, you can go for a long time without getting a new coronavirus case. What happens if someone in February, an elderly patient, contracts the virus and passes away? What are they going to say to their family? Oh, sorry, we had the vaccine, but we decided not to use it until March. That's ridiculous. The second point is, Alan Joyce, the CEO of Qantas, has come out and said recently that there will be no flights on any Qantas planes unless you've had the jab. Now, people are waiting to go overseas. There are so many people I speak to that cannot wait to go overseas. Now, this obviously, they're talking about rolling out to the average Australian the vaccine by October next year. That is absolutely incredible when the vaccine has already been approved in medically advanced countries. I'm not talking about, the Congo or anything like that. It's either UK, the USA and Canada. Surely we can trust their medical expertise over there and just roll out the vaccine quickly.
I'm with you, Ash. Darren?
We do have our own processes for approving medical technology in Australia. We have the Therapeutic Goods Administration. We have other processes. I trust those processes. The problem that we have is that there's a long queue for the vaccines, and whoever gets the vaccine first is probably going to pay a higher price for it because of that competition. Now, because of our relatively low numbers, the government is probably figuring that we're not at the front of the queue for need and that we may be able to save a little bit of money by being in the middle or, further back in the queue. So I'm sure that there are models that they have used to try and, how are we going to keep a lid on coronavirus if there is an outbreak in Australia. But I think, on balance, our authorities have done a good job this year, and I trust them to make the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, Christy, too, right? Now, I hear the most fervent people who have the most fervent opinions about all of this stuff, but I do put genuine faith. I don't need to read all of the documentation about whether polio exists and how we deal with polio, okay? And I know that there are people that are going to try to scream in all directions here, right? So I trust the systems that we have around us. But it's also pretty obvious to me too that it's not that we're going to slow play the ball here, but I think there's also a bit of an element here where we're going to wait our turn, we're going to put it through systems, but we're also going to see how it goes in other parts of the world too. And the advantage of us not having rampant coronavirus cases in Australia means perhaps we don't have to roll that dice earlier than places that do have thousands of new cases a day.
The government has to weigh up Australia's need versus Australia's cost. And of course, there's only, at the current time, limited doses of the vaccine in the world, and people are wanting it faster than it can be manufactured and faster than early results can demonstrate before it's given to other countries and the government allocates who in Australia is first in line, determined by need and age and vulnerability to contracting disease. And so that is part of the government's response. In terms of Alan Joyce, I think he was only expressing what is likely to be government policy in the future. I don't think anybody is going to be able to leave or re-enter Australia unless their passport is linked up to the Border Force database saying that they have been vaccinated, and that is just a public policy reality that we are probably going to have to face. Me personally, I don't mind. Put a chip in my wrist. As long as I'm adhering to the government's best advice, and I'm happy to do so. But I think people suggesting that they can get away with not being vaccinated and travel freely is a thing of the past.